Imagine this. You're a farmer 8,000 years ago. Your family's survival depends entirely on the crops you grow. But the soil is tired, the harvests are shrinking, and you're running out of options. What do you do? This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. It was the reality for our earliest ancestors. But they weren't helpless. They discovered a secret, a miracle that would fundamentally change the course of human history. And that secret was hidden in plain sight, in something we often overlook today, manure. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're digging deep, literally, into one of the most important innovations in human history, the invention of fertilizer. It might not sound as glamorous as the wheel or writing, but without it, our civilization simply wouldn't exist as we know it. We're going to journey back 8,000 years to Neolithic Europe and uncover how our ancestors went from simply scattering seeds to becoming master manipulators of the land. They were the original soil scientists, and their story is absolutely fascinating. It all starts at a site called Catalhuyuk in modern-day Turkey, one of the world's first large settlements. Archaeologists here have unearthed incredible evidence. They analyzed ancient plant and animal remains, not just for what people ate, but for the chemical signatures left behind. Specifically, they were looking for isotopes, different forms of elements like nitrogen. And they found something remarkable. The nitrogen isotopes in ancient wheat and barley crops were different from those in wild plants. They matched the isotopes found in animal waste. The conclusion was undeniable. As early as 8,000 years ago, these pioneering farmers were intentionally collecting and using animal manure to fertilize their fields. This was a revolutionary moment. Think about the level of observation and ingenuity required. These early farmers had to notice that plants grew better in areas where animals had been. They had to connect the dots between animal waste and healthier, more abundant crops. Then, they had to develop a system. They didn't just let their animals wander through the fields. Evidence suggests they kept animals like sheep and goats in pens, specifically to collect their dung. This wasn't a happy accident. It was a deliberate, calculated agricultural strategy. Why was this so crucial? Well, early farming was a brutal cycle. You plant crops, they suck nutrients out of the soil. Year after year, the soil becomes depleted, and your yields drop. This is a problem known as soil exhaustion. Many early farming communities had to practice what's called slash and burn agriculture. They'd clear a plot of forest, farm it for a few years until the soil was useless, and then abandon it to clear a new plot. It was unsustainable and forced communities to be constantly on the move. But the farmers who mastered manure changed the game. Manure is packed with essential nutrients, especially nitrogen, which is like a superfood for plants. By adding manure back into the soil, they were replenishing these vital nutrients. They were, in effect, closing the nutrient loop. This allowed them to farm the same plots of land year after year, decade after decade. It meant they could finally settle down in one place, build permanent villages, and support larger populations. This stability was the bedrock upon which complex societies were built. So, how did they do it? It wasn't just about dumping manure randomly. Archaeological evidence from various Neolithic sites across Europe shows an incredibly sophisticated approach. Farmers seemed to understand that different crops had different needs. They would apply more manure to their most important staple crops, like wheat and barley, which are very nitrogen hungry. They were essentially giving their most valuable plants a nutrient boost to ensure a successful harvest. Imagine the scene. Families working together, gathering dung from the animal pens, loading it into baskets, and painstakingly spreading it across their small garden plots. It was hard, smelly work, but the payoff was immense. The difference would have been visible within a single growing season. Taller stalks, fuller heads of grain, and a harvest that could feed their families through the harsh winter and beyond. This wasn't just farming, it was a form of ecological engineering. The practice spread. As people migrated across Europe, they took this knowledge with them. From the shores of the Mediterranean to the fields of Britain, we see the same isotopic evidence popping up. The use of manure became a cornerstone of the Neolithic package, alongside domesticated animals and cereal crops. It was the key that unlocked the full potential of agriculture, allowing it to support growing populations and fuel the expansion of human settlement. Without this stinky, humble substance, the great cities and empires of the ancient world might never have risen. But here's a thought. Was manure the only trick they had up their sleeves? Think about it. These were incredibly observant people, intimately connected to their environment. They had already figured out the complex relationship between animal waste and plant growth. What other natural processes might they have noticed and harnessed? Could they have understood the benefits of crop rotation or using certain plants to enrich the soil? The evidence for manure is strong, but it's likely just one piece of a much larger puzzle of ancient agricultural wisdom. The story gets even more interesting as we move forward in time. While manure was the first great fertilizer, it wasn't the last. Ancient civilizations continued to innovate. The Romans, for example, were meticulous farmers. Writers like Cato and Columella wrote extensive agricultural manuals. They documented not only the use of manure from different animals. Pigeon dung was considered the best, but also the practice of green manuring. This involved growing specific plants like legumes, think beans and peas, and then plowing them back into the soil. They knew, intuitively, that these plants somehow made the soil richer for the next crop. Today, we know it's because legumes fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. And it didn't stop there. In the Nile Valley, Egyptian farmers relied on the annual flood, which deposited a rich layer of black silt on their fields. This natural fertilization made Egypt the breadbasket of the ancient world. In the Americas, civilizations developed incredibly sophisticated techniques. In the Amazon, they created terra preta, or black earth, a man-made, incredibly fertile soil created by adding charcoal, pottery shards, and organic waste over centuries. It's so stable and rich that these patches of ancient soil are still fertile today. All of these innovations, from the first use of manure to the creation of terra preta, share a common thread. They are a testament to human ingenuity and our long, complex relationship with the soil. Our ancestors understood something fundamental, that to take from the earth, you must also give back. They were the original recyclers, the pioneers of sustainable agriculture. It really makes you think, doesn't it? We often view the past as primitive, but in many ways, these early farmers had a more holistic and sustainable relationship with their environment than we do today. Their survival depended on it. They couldn't just go to a store and buy a bag of synthetic fertilizer. They had to work with nature, observe its cycles, and cleverly use the resources they had. This journey into our agricultural past reveals that the challenges we face today, soil degradation, food security, sustainability, are not new. They are ancient problems. And perhaps, by looking back at the ingenious solutions of our ancestors, we can find inspiration for the future. The story of fertilizer isn't just about dirt and dung. It's about survival, innovation, and the very foundation of our world. So what do you think is the most impressive ancient farming technique? The strategic use of manure, the Romans' green manuring, or the Amazonians' terra preta? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the past, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next video. We'll be exploring another ancient secret that completely changed the world, and you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching.